Hello, I'm Jake Boudrot, Civic Journalist at Tello Community Television. With me today is Richmond County Returning Officer Clair Rankin, and we're going to discuss where and when people can vote before and on Election Day. Welcome to Tello.
Thank you, Jake. Yeah.
So, as mandated by the Nova Scotia Utility and Review Board, there were some changes to the electoral districts in Richmond County, and maybe we can go through that so people know, I guess, the where they have to vote first of all.
Well, because there's only 3 elections this time, I don't know if you want to go through them all, but I guess they are affected. Everybody's affected by them. The most important one here in Ayrshad, and this one is there's a little change between the boundary between District Number 1, Petit de Gras, Ayrshad East, and District Number 2, Discouse, West Ayrshad. And that's right here in Ayrshad. All of Highland Street and all of Binney's Lane now go with District 2. Last time people voted, it was the New Horizons Club was the dividing line, but now it's moved on because District 2 needed a few more people. So that's the new line there. The same old line is on, it goes up to Pondville South, that's District 1. As soon as you get to Pondville South, you're in District 2. And yeah. So, and Grandique Road, I'm not too sure where, it didn't change, so it goes up to so far in Grandique Road, and then the rest of Lochside, et cetera, is in District 2.
Now, I believe there was a change in Districts 4 and 5 as well with Grand Grave.
Yes, the URB in their wisdom 10 years ago or 15 years ago split Grand Grave in 2, District 5 and District 4, and it was a real headache because if the waste collector was late, people were calling every councillor on the list kind of thing because nobody knew who was responsible, and it was hard for area rates to be set because it was the same road. Everybody lived on the same road, but yet they lived in different districts. So what they did, they moved it further towards Rockdale. When you get to the Three Island Cove Road now, insofar is in District 4, and then the Cove Road extension is also in District 4. And so as soon as you turn left off of Three Island Cove, heading towards Lordways, it's in District 5. So it's a minor change. And the other change in District 4 was between District 3 and District 4, where Tebowville, as we call it, on the Cameron Mountain Road, used to be with District 3 in Louisdale. So people in Tebowville had to drive all the way through Route 4, mostly in District 4, to get to the polling booths in District 3. So they took Tebowville and put it back in the District 4 where it should have belonged. And also there's a small change in St. Peter's. Corbett's Cove Road used to be in District 4, now it's in District 5. And Lynch's River and that sort of thing. So a few changes, but luckily we got them all sorted out and we're ready to go. Yeah.
So I guess now that we know roughly where people in different communities know which districts they belong to,
Yes.
I guess let's get into the when, and we'll look at the advanced polls. So advanced polls are scheduled for Saturday, October 12th,
Yes.
and Tuesday, October 15th.
Yes.
And they'll be held at Our Lady of Assumption Parish Hall here in Ayrshad at 2316 Highway 206. And they'll be also at the Bonnie Bray Seniors Club, which is at 14 Toulouse Street in St. Peters. And both will be held between 12 noon and 8 p.m. But on Election Day, some people in West Ayrshad will be voting at the former church and not at the Cadieville Community Center, as was the case in previous years. So maybe you might want to just get into that and just discuss that and make sure people understand that that's the case.
Sure. First, I'll talk about the advanced polls. The advanced polls are set up for people who, like university students. It's a long weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, so they can come home from university. They're allowed to vote in either place, at the university or at their home here in Richmond County, but only in one. And it's 12 to 8, so it's different hours. It's not as long as the normal polling day, which is 8 to 7. So it opens at noon, goes till 8, and you can vote. If you're from Ayrshad and you're driving through St. Peters, you're allowed to vote there, vice versa. If you're from St. Peters or anywhere else that's holding election and you want to vote in the other advanced poll, you're allowed. And there's one thing about voting that is in municipal elections that's very different, because we don't send out voters cards and we don't ask for ID. People who come into the poll who say they want to vote there, we'll give them a ballot. There's not much of a test for voting in municipal elections. If you're not on the list, we will ask you to fill out a form, your address, your birthday, and you have to sign it saying, I live here and I want to vote here. No problem. If you sign that form, we'll give you a ballot. And so, and on normal election day, the polls open at 8 o'clock and they go till 7 at night. So it's an all-day thing. So hopefully it gives more opportunity for people to get out there. And they're going to be held practically all over, certainly all over the island, and then a few more in the St. Peters, River Bourgeois, Sampsonville area. Well, poll number 1 in District 1 is the Little Ant Social Action Club. Poll number 2 and poll number 3 are both in the Petit de Gras Parish Hall. I don't know the name of the church, sorry.
St. Joseph's
St.
Parish.
Joseph's,
Yes.
there.
Yes.
Poll number 4 is going to be in the New Horizons Club, and that'll be for Ayrshire East, people ahead of the harbour, etc., Cape Auguette, that way.
Veterans Memorial.
Veterans Memorial.
Drive,
So
yes.
everybody east of that, everybody on this side of that votes at the New Horizons. And then there's going to be, then poll number 5 is Ayrshire West. That would be from Babbins Hill into Highland Street and including Highland Street. They will be also voting at New Horizons. And then poll number 6 is St. Anne's Centre. So that's only for the residents there. Poll number 7 and 8 are for people in West Ayrshire. Everybody in West Ayrshire up to Jammers Island will be voting in the old church there in the parish. It used to be Pastoral Care Center. Yeah.
Yeah, and it won't be at Decadieville Community Center this year.
No, only because it was booked a year ago, and they didn't have the heart to ask the person to cancel the booking because it's a year old, and they really wanted it that weekend.
Yeah, and it's important that people know that in case there's some confusion on election day, that they know not to go to Decadieville Community Center, go to the former church.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you. Yeah, and then the next poll, and I forgot the number I'm at now, is out in Jammers Island at their at the community hall there. And then the next 2 polls from, like, say, the Martinique, where you turn off to Martinique and Discousse, is going to be at the Discousse Civic Action Center, and that's for the whole area right through to Cape Laurent that goes to Discousse. And then, of course, there's a poll in Rocky Bay as well.
Yes.
For people from Pondville South, Rocky Bay, Pondville, all down that road. Yeah, and some of Lochside as well. And then over in the St. Peters area, we have a poll in St. George's Channel Hall for the people who live on the highway going through Roberta and the Points. And then there's a poll in Sampsonville Community Center, Lakeside Community Center. And there are 2 polls for St. Peters in the Lions Hall on election day. There'll be 2 polls in there, and that's for everybody in the north side, St. Peters, Grand Grave, River Tillard, etc. goes to St. Peters.
It should be noted too, Claire, that although the advanced polls at the Bonnie Bray Seniors Club, election day it's at the Lions Hall in St. Peters.
Yes.
So we should also make sure to emphasize that so people know where to go.
Yeah, we tried to move it around a bit just to give the hall some rental. Yeah, and of course the Bonnie Bray couldn't handle the 2 polls at once, so we're. The reason we couldn't do it in the Lions Club, the advance poll, is because Tuesday's bingo night, and that's the day of the advance poll. So that bingo always overrules an election.
That's
I could tell you a story. I went to a door once when I was campaigning. I knocked at the door, and the woman came to the door and she said, "You got my vote?" I said, "Well, thank you very much. I don't know what I did to deserve it." She said, "Well, you didn't do much, but your opponent came during TV bingo, and I missed 2 games." So that was an easy one. Yeah, and then of course the final 3 polls are, there's one at Richmond Villa for the residents there, and then there are 2 in River Bourgeois for all of River Bourgeois and Seaview and Sporting Mountain, etc. Yeah, and now Thiebauville. Yeah.
And we were talking earlier, and you were asked about how people qualify, and we have some new residents and people who moved to the area recently, and maybe it's important to note who is eligible and able to vote in this election too, depending on how long you've been here.
Yeah, number 1 criteria is you have to be a Canadian citizen. Immigrant status doesn't give you a ballot. You have to be in Nova Scotia for 6 months preceding the first advance poll, so that's March 12th. You have to be in the province. And then, of course, you have to be residing in Richmond County in one of the districts in order to get a ballot. You also have to be 18 by the first polling day, which would be October 12th. And if I forgot anything, chip in here. No,
No,
if you're not on the list, you can either get in touch with me, and there's a bit of a back and forth because people are saying, here's my name and here's my phone, my email, but I also have to know your date of birth, your full name, where you live, your residential address, and also your mailing address. So and then I'll put you on the list. But that ends next week because I can't keep taking people on the list. However, as I said before, if you are not on the list and you still want to vote, just walk into any poll and say that you want to vote here, and we will give you a ballot if you sign that paper.
What's that cutoff date you were just talking about next week?
It's October 9th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was something else you mentioned earlier too, and it was about the number of voters on the list. We've actually got more voters now.
I was quite surprised. I'm going to have to look it up here just so I don't make a mistake like I've been doing all along here. Yeah, in 4 years ago, we had 7,910 voters. And this year, they added up to 7,980 voters. So there's 70 more people living in voters in Richmond County this time than last time. So that reverses a trend, I think, that went back a long way. That we always say we're losing population, but not anymore. I remember there was a stat in 1917. There were 15,000 people in Richmond County and 17,000 sheep. Things have gone a little haywire. The Nettletons are trying to do their part, I know, but yeah.
So now that we've been through kind of the nuts and bolts of that, maybe we can look at who's running. So in District 1, where there's a contested election, in District 1, which takes in Petit de Gras, Arishat area, as you mentioned, we have incumbent Sean Sampson, who was first elected in 2020, who's running against a former council colleague of yours and former warden and longtime councillor, James Goyash.
Yes.
In District 2, the other contested election on the island, which takes in, as you mentioned, West Arishat and the north side of Almadam, over to Cape Brown, we have incumbent Michael Digdon, who was first elected in 2020. He's running against retired educator Lois Landry.
Yes.
And the final, the third contested district is District 4, which is River Bourgeois St. Peter's. And we have Warden Amanda Mumbercat, who is up against another former councillor, Gilbert Boucher.
Yes.
We have 2 acclamations in District 3, 3 acclamations. In District 3, we have former Warden Brian Marchand, who's acclaimed, the Loosedale Low River area.
Yes.
Then in District 5, incumbent Brent Sampson, who was also first elected in 2020, he was acclaimed. And the Conseil Scolaire Acadia Provincial Representative Blair Sampson has also been acclaimed. So maybe if you want to talk about the process for, first off, how people apply to become a candidate, and maybe how people are acclaimed, because there might be some people who might not know how that works. Yeah,
well, to be a candidate, it's quite simple. You take out you come to me and I give you forms, or this year for the first time, you could download them off the website at the county. So I didn't know who was going to come through the door to be nominated, but actually all you need is you have to agree to take the job if elected. You need 5 signatures of people in your district. We always caution you to get 10 because they have to be on the voters list. So if you showed up with just 5 and one of them wasn't on the voters list, you might have to go back. And then we need $200, which you usually get back on the whims of council after the election. So that's about it. And then you have to sign a form saying that you'll return the voters lists, because you will be given a list of everybody in your district, and it's quite confidential and private. So we ask that you give that back, destroy any copies, and you also have to agree to take down your signs, notify us if anybody gave you any funds to help you run the election. And acclamation, basically, these councillors get I would say a free ride, but they put their name forward to be nominated. They were nominated successfully, but then no other contestant came through, so they were basically the winner by acclamation. There was nobody to run against, so it doesn't happen very often in Richmond County. Last time we had almost 24 candidates running, and the time before that was equally as busy when we went from 10 to 5 seats. So this is a new setup for Richmond County. And we've always enjoyed, last time we had it turned out a 64%. We were always quite high up there province-wide. It's going to take a dip this year when you look at the total number of people, because there are 2 districts with no vote being taken, but we'll have to see how high we register with the 3 seats that are left. So you were going to ask me that, I know.
Well, I know we were talking about that earlier,
Yeah,
and I was
yeah.
asking you your thoughts on how you thought the turnout was going to be. To hear it was 64% last time, I thought it was actually higher, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because I know we were tended to hover around 70% at
Yeah.
some elections, but I guess it depends on how many people are running and
Yeah.
what the level of interest is there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's hard to say, but we hope that that people do show up and mark their X because it's important.
Well, it's very important. I mean, I don't know if people have ever heard of Hurricane Hazel. She was the mayor of Mississauga for many, many years, and she gave a talk once, and she said, the federal government has the money, the provincial money, the federal government has the money, the provincial government has the jurisdiction, the legislation, and the municipal government has the headaches, because everybody, because you're used to seeing your councillor around, so you usually go to them if it's for highways or pension or something. They're the person that directs you to go higher up in the chain if you need another level of government answer. Yeah.
Very much at the community level, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
So that's why voting in your municipality election is important, because they're the ones who look after your recreation, your waste management, your recreation, your public works, your water, sewer in some places. So it's ground level stuff, that's for sure. Yeah.
So on election day, it's Saturday, October 19th,
Yep.
and voting takes place between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m.
Yep.
at the polling stations that we listed previously. But that information is also available on the municipality, the County of Richmond's website. So if anybody wants to check that out as well to verify some of the information, by all means, and it would be a good way to make sure and people know where they're supposed to vote and when they can vote.
Absolutely. And they can always email me. My email is elections@richmondcounty.ca. So elections@richmondcounty, all one word, .ca.
Well, that's great. We covered a lot of ground, and we hope we've informed the voters of Richmond County with this segment. And I'd like to thank Clair for coming in. I know he's busy, especially this time of year, and it's very much appreciated that he provided this information.
Well, it's a two-way street. You're helping me get information out there, and maybe that'll result in a lot more people going to the polls. So it's a two-way street. I thank you for having me, and thank for the crew behind here, and Tell Il for being the wonderful. What a community asset to have you have here. I mean, it's great. Look at this is a professional studio, and you go out all over the Richmond County and outside us as well. So thank you for being here as well.